So if you've been around the channel at all and you've seen any of my builds, you know that I am a big fan of building sky islands. I build them because they're small, adaptable, they look interesting, and because I'm often too lazy to build underground when I run out of room on the surface. But that caveat aside, guys, traditionally my sky island builds include, well, 1 or 2 islands. But today's build's a little bit different because, well, we're building 5. Hey Terraria fans, welcome back to another speed build video. Guys, in this one I'm going to be making an abandoned skylab, and I think it looks really cool to have it spread across a few small sky islands. So yeah, there are 5 in total, and this thing just kind of fits the actual aesthetic that I was going for. Now that said, the lab is a little bit low-key, but I think you're going to get a nice idea of what you can do with a variety of sky islands and a couple of very basic ideas, of which one key idea is developing the landscaping in the background because it adds a ton of detail to your builds. Now, if you'd like to see me making some background or some foreground builds live, guys, you can actually do so by catching me live on Twitch. Link is down below. In addition, guys, if you're enjoying any of the content here on the channel, feel free to hit the like, the subscribe, or the little dinner bell thingy so you can know when the next video hits the old YouTube universe. And because it's free to do, and YouTube might just push our videos out to more people who may get inspired to build a little bit more. So if you hit the like or the subscribe, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You're awesome. Anyways, that aside, guys, don't forget to stay until the end of the video because I will be covering every single material. So if you want to make something similar or make an exact replica, you'll be able to see absolutely every material that was used. And yeah, if you have any questions, guys, about that, of course, feel free to leave a comment down below. Right, that's enough talking from me, guys. Let's get to the build, shall we? All right, with our floating Skylab now done, guys, let's quickly cover all of the materials like I promised at the beginning of this video. Now, as always, I do encourage you to pause the video here should you want to take a closer look at any of the materials that I use, but hopefully this gives you a much clearer idea of how I actually put this thing together. Now, when it comes to blocks, guys, there are a lot of different blocks used here, but a lot of them are simply for the actual floating island parts, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. So I definitely went with some hellstone and some mudstone, as well as some stone block, and kind of combined that with our sandstone and our sand. Now, that kind of gives you a nice sort of texture look, in my opinion, for the, I guess, foundation of the floating island. We also went with a ton of cloud because, well, we're in the clouds and I wanted to make those look as, well, lively and interesting as possible. Now, the lab itself is actually pretty straightforward. I just used some stone accent slab and some copper plating and some tin plating. I, of course, threw in a couple of anti-portal blocks, which I don't use very often, but they look kind of nice in these kinds of builds. This is something that I use here and there in some of my, I guess, more mechanical type builds, but haven't used in a very long time. So there's a couple spots you'll see this, and that is what that block is. Again, used very sparingly, but something that's rather unique. Now for the walls, guys, there are a couple of standouts. I do use Purple Rain wallpaper and Midnight Confetti wall here and there, but ultimately the main standout for me is going to be our Astra brick wall. This is unpainted in this build, but of course you could just use this or any variant of the Luminite walls and paint them a different color. I just thought it was a nice kind of just transition between the colors, and it was a bit darker and deeper blue that I thought looked pretty good. When it comes to the islands themselves, guys, I use a lot of hellstone brick, craggy stone wall, some stone wall, and some mudstone brick wall. I just kind of like the way this looks. I did try to put a couple of bits of stone slab here and there initially, but as you can see, there's a lot of just variety of stone. Again, you can replace this with pretty much anything you want. You could use ebon stone, you could use mottled stone. It doesn't really matter. The idea here is just to make sure that you add a bit of texture to make the build a little bit more interesting. Finally, when it comes to paints, guys, we kept it fairly simple. We used some gray paint, some white paint, some deep teal, and some deep yellow. I also went with some lime paint, of course, for some of the foliage and that kind of thing. We did use some negative paint here and there, which I'm fairly certain you'll be able to see as well. So again, nothing too crazy. And of course, if you're going to do something similar or make an exact replica, you could swap out any of these paints. It doesn't really matter. All right, so that covers all of the materials, guys. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight into the build and the process and the thinking. And of course, if you have any questions, guys, feel free to leave a comment down below because I will get back to you. But with all that said, guys, let's get on with the rest of the video. All right, folks, so there you go. There is our Skylab build done. I really do like how I use a lot of these tiny islands. It's not always easy to do, but once you build one or two of them, you kind of get in a nice rhythm, and these things actually come together rather quickly. But because I use such a small footprint, this lab doesn't feel quite like a lab, but it does feel a little bit more like an abandoned outpost, which means I'm actually pretty happy with the whole product. I think the parts that stand out the most to me is how I use that negative paint on the support column on the main island. And while I also like some of the plant and water features, I think the other feature that really stands out in my opinion is gotta be those clouds. It's not that they're the nicest looking clouds, but because I was able to use so many in so many different spots, some that cover the foreground, some that are only in the background, I just think it all looks really nice and kind of makes this whole thing just, well, feel tied in. And the best part is they only need two materials, which is cloud blocks and cloud walls. But what did you like about the build? What stood out? What was the feature that really caught your eye? Or what was the thing that you really disliked? Again, guys, I'm always open to feedback, so do let me know in the comments down below. Additionally, if you have an idea for any build you'd like to see in the future, guys, also let me know in the comments down below, because as you know, I will very likely build it, so you never know. But yeah, with all that said, guys, thank you so much for watching until the end of this video. As always, thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. We will see you in the next one.